Good evening, friends, and welcome back, everybody. I'm T.S. This is the simulcast up and running now for the 4th of May, 1995. Tonight, David Margolick, and we go inside the O.J. Simpson trial. Little bits and pieces of things that have happened during the week that are interesting and somewhat unusual. The juror who said that she couldn't stand it anymore, and the remarkable piece of audio tape heard on hard copy and now on other radio and television programs. O.J. Simpson and the police conferring shortly after he returned from Chicago, the day after his wife and her companion were murdered here in Southern California in 1994. And then a bit later on from Miami, Florida, Congressman Lincoln Diaz-Balart, American policy vis-a-vis the Cuban refugees, fair or unfair, a topic up for discussion later on in tonight's program. You know, we had a great time on radio last night. Elliot Forrest and I took calls from fellas and gals all around the country. And it's funny how a topic comes up and you just go with it, you know, as often happens here. And last night the topic of cars in the 50s and 60s drove this program, and we had great fun talking about these wonderful automobiles built in the days when America ruled the road and the world. And we started thinking about the names that cars used to have, like the Starfire and the Bonneville. I guess they still have the Bonneville, but it is but a faint shadow of the Bonnies of the 50s and the 60s. And the Skylark and the Thunderbird, all these wonderful names that were on cars. And now it's like the ES300 and the LX420. You know, there's no imagination to most of the names. And we started talking about cars that our fathers drove. And I thought about my dad, God rest his soul. All of his life he drove Olds 88s or Buick Supers. But in his heart he craved a Cadillac car. And back in the 50s, if you don't remember this for the young folks, all cars were bought on time, you know, payments at the bank. And so for, you know, 60 or 65 bucks you drove an Olds or a Buick, and for probably 75 or 80, 10 or 15 more, you drove a Cadillac. And my brother and I would always try and convince Dad, you know, get a Cad, Dad, you deserve it. But he would always get the, you know, the knockdown Olds. He would never get the clock, you know, and you'd see that, piece of plastic all for 3 years. You'd see that, you know, you'd be looking for the time, and we didn't have the clock in the radio. Is that over there? So when I moved to California in 1970, and I made a little money out here doing the news for NBC. In '73, I went over and bought a Cadillac here in Beverly Hills. And I called my dad on the phone, and like all sons who are proud of accomplishment with their dads, I said, you know, Dad, I just picked up a Cadillac. He said, really? I says, yeah. He says, you know, for that kind of money, you could have got a Lincoln. Another balloon punctured along the way. Anyway, I'm told that there was a fellow here on the radio here in town the other day whose name is Peter Tilden. He does a show on 710, talk radio in the morning, and he's got a gal with him whose name I don't know. And they start talking about sexual fantasies on the radio here Tuesday morning in L.A. And Tilden says, you know, my wife's fantasy is that she's in bed with Tom Snyder, watching him on television late at night, running her fingers through his thick, brawny chest hair. Man, does she have to get out more, huh? And now I get a piece of videotape today from my friends over at CBS of next Monday's Murphy Brown show, which is on the air at, I believe, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And in this particular episode, Miles is falling in love with Corky. And he's with Jim, the anchorman on the program, and he's trying to get from Jim some advice on how to make this romance blossom and get to first base, if not second, third, and all the way home with the fair Corky. And so here on videotape is the reply from Jim on next Monday night's Murphy Brown.
What could Corky possibly be attracted to? Don't tell me his looks, because I have it on good authority he's had work done. You think this is amusing?
Oh, no, it's just that many moons ago, I faced a rival suitor for Doris's attentions. My response was to date as many women as I could to make her jealous, and it worked. To this day, I tease her about the mistake she almost made. Can you imagine it? Doris, Mrs. Tom Snyder. The woman should kiss my feet nightly.
So they get funny once in a while, okay? Back with David Margolick to talk about the FBI trial. A little bit later on, American policy vis-a-vis the Cuban refugees. Settle back, fire up a simultane now, and watch the pictures and the ideas as they fly through the air.